weirdos, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Natalie Megan. This is Weirdo Book Club, and today we're getting spooky because I will be reading and reviewing for you Carving for Cara by Melissa McSherry and Dana Leanne. So I actually read this book last year and reviewed it on one of my live streams. It's just right after I finished reading it, I needed to get on live and spill because I just couldn't keep it in. And I've also talked about it a little bit on one of my Dark Romance Diaries videos, but until this moment, I haven't really dug deep. But today that changes. But before we get into all of that, I wanted to talk a little bit about today's sponsor, Oodie. So the Oodie is an apparel and specifically wearable blanket brand that reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to work together. And I was like, yeah. They sent me the softest, coziest, most lush wearable blanket that I've ever had the privilege of putting on my body. I'm wearing the purple tie-dye and I love it. The entire thing is lined with this really soft fleece material. It's oversized. It has this really big pocket in the front to hold my Kindle, maybe my snacks. Don't worry about it. You do you, I'll do me. And it's perfect for somebody like me who's constantly cold even when it's not cold outside. But the weather is starting to get a little chilly, so maybe it's time for you to get one. I nap in this. I curl up with a good book in this. I work long hours late into the night when I'm supposed to be sleeping because I'm behind on my work in this. It's cute, it's comfortable, and like I said, it is one of the softest things I've ever worn. And I have a code for you, Weirdo Book Club 15. If you use that at checkout, you get 15% off your entire purchase. I have it linked in the description below, and while I would love to wear it for the duration of the video, I do tend to get a little heated in these reviews. You've been here, you know, but you can bet that when I'm done filming and I switch into editing mode, it will be back on my person and I will be comfortable and cozy well into the night. Thanks again to the Oodie for sponsoring this video, and now back to it. So I know it's weird to see me have a physical copy of one of these books because I usually don't want one. Plus, Kindle Unlimited keeps me fed with these ebooks for all of the stuff that I usually review on this channel. But my friend Heather over at Sacred Heart Book Reviews sent me this copy in the mail as a gift, and so I have to keep it forever because even though the book sucks, it's really pretty. It's got this little Halloween-y cover, spiderweb, ivy, sparkly rose, pumpkin, knife, bird stuff. It's a lot going on. And then it says, "Run, little nightmare," as the tagline. On the back it says, "He's my predator and I'm his prey. Tonight he's starving for a taste of what's his." And then on the inside it's actually really pretty. It's got black pages and white ink, and then at the beginning of the chapters it has like little spiderweb details. I love a pretty book. Thank you, Heather, for sending me this copy. Like I said, it is really pretty and I am gonna keep it forever because it was a sweet gift from you, but whew, this book was rough. So disclaimers, I don't have very many. This is a very short book, but the first one and the only one I'm doing today is one that's always the same. This review will contain spoilers, opinions, general shit talking. If none of that sounds good for you, see yourself out. Also see yourself out if you are one of the authors, friends of the authors, or diehard fans of the authors who don't want to hear me drag this book because I will be doing just that. So Carving for Cara is a dark Halloween romance novella written by Melissa McSherry and Dana Leanne. It's 128 pages, originally published October of last year, and it is available on Kindle Unlimited. Joys for everyone. This is told in dual POVs, one of which belonging to our rogue, tatted, leather-clad, hacker, masked man named Rant, who becomes inexplicably obsessed with the local tattoo artist hottie named Cara, or Cara, I don't know, who is a slut for Halloween. We're having fun already. The synopsis reads, "He's my predator and I'm his prey. Tonight he's starving for a taste of what's his." Oh my God, that's what's on the back of the book. It was Halloween, my favorite time of year. I had my dream job as a tattoo artist, a loyal best friend, and an ex who happily tended to my needs without complicating our arrangement. I want you to remember that she said that, okay? Happily tended to my needs. Tended to my needs, okay? An ex that tended to her needs. Got it? Everything was going great until Devil's Night when the masked man watched me from the shadows like a predator stalking his next meal, and that's what I was. His prey. Like any natural-born predator, he was bloodthirsty, staking his claim to me before I could even see his face behind the mask. He wasn't afraid to kill for a bite of what he craved, even if shedding the blood of those closest to me. Once he had a taste, he hungered for more, and the more he needed it, the more I wanted to give it to him. Tropes include, oh my God, this is my favorite part. Tropes include, touch her and you'll be unalived. That's not a, oh God, that's dumb. But it also is giving the same energy as that clip of, I think it was Liam Payne, may he rest, tragic, where he was talking about like an altercation with one of the members of One Direction where they like threw him up against a wall and he was like, "If you don't remove those hands, you won't be able to use them again." Something like that. It's giving the same energy. You touch her and you'll be unalived. You will be. You'll be unalived. Wow. Whoa, buddy. No need to get hostile. Tropes include touch her and you'll be unalived, knife play, stalking, possessive main male character, Halloween, small towns. Tropes include small town. Masked main male character, praise, and she's mine. Tropes include she's mine. Is that a trope? Is that a trope? And then they tell us that the trigger warnings can be found in the book, and we'll go over that in a bit. So, cards on the table. Let's just talk this through first before we get in. I thought this book was a joke. I like, not a joke, but like a parody or a tongue-in-cheek caricature of the dark romance genre. Like, they couldn't be serious. They had to be trolling us. But now that I've read it a couple more times, and I went looking through their social medias, and I don't think it is a joke. I think that they're for real, and that makes it so much worse. But you'll see what I'm talking about and why I would think that when we get into the book. But I think that's enough build up. This is obviously a shorter book, so I don't want to give too much away. I'd rather just dive right in, so shall we? So the warning page reads, "Your mental health matters. Read this page in its entirety. This book contains, but not limited to," I don't think that's this book contains, but is not, whatever, "content depicting violence, gore, explicit language, knife play, consensual non-consent, SA, restriction, stalking, mutilation and death of a side character, praise, mention of addiction, marijuana use, gagging, excessive force, choking, and explicit scenes. This book is not intended for readers under the age of 18. Read with caution. Your mental health matters. This book you're about to read is dark and not recommended for all readers. Read through the trigger warnings once more, then decide if you could continue on with this book. The content on this page is very heavy," and then they list out the triggers again and say, "You've been warned," which technically, I suppose I have been. I do appreciate that they spelled out some of the triggers like consensual non-consent, but I do fear that they omitted and skipped a few, which would be, in my opinion, dubious consent or R. Because I do think some of the encounters are, in fact, not consensual at all. They did say SA, though, so there's also a playlist, and the only person I know on this playlist is Bad Omens, so I don't really have an opinion, but I would love to hear yours. Leave them below. The dedication reads, "For all the girls who dreamed of being chased through a cornfield by a masked man, then in the pumpkin patch when he catches you." Now, I've never had that dream personally, but if you've had that dream, today's your lucky day. Chapter 1 starts with Cara. She is a pale-skinned, tatted up, Halloween-loving, edgy, try-hard, not like other girls girl who is a tattoo artist in Hallow Grove, Iowa, and lives in a spooky Victorian mansion on the corner of October Lane and Cemetery Circle. Do you see why I thought they were trolling? Yeah. Anyway, she is getting her yard decorations in order and putting the final touches on everything, and waiting on her best friend Sloan to get off work at the hair salon that she works at so that they can start getting ready for Devil's Night. Each year, I go all out for the spooky season, and this year's no exception. If anything, I felt the spirit of Halloween even more than usual, and my house is decorated accordingly, with 6 masterfully carved pumpkins poised atop my porch, numerous grungy gravestones strategically placed among overgrown blades of grass, and bright red lights that flash to the playlist that I titled Monster Jams. Accordingly, masterfully, strategically, truly, madly, deeply. I did not notice all the adverbiage here when I first read it. I even got a dry ice machine blowing vapors through the yard. Is it not sensationally blowing, intentionally blowing, or excellently blowing? My neighbor hates it, but I don't give a. He lets his dog on my grass every morning when they walk by, and not once has his lazy bothered to clean it up. Didn't you just say your grass was overgrown? How much can you care about the yard if... Let me shut up. There will be a day when I finally snap and leave a flaming bag of dog crap on his front steps, and I have a feeling it'll be sooner rather than later. So right away, we have a vibe for Cara that's being constructed that I'm not a fan of. And I know that we just started this book, but I've been doing this dark romance thing for a while now, and almost all of the female main characters that we get in novels like this are some variation of this exact thing, and I just fail to see the appeal. It's predictable, it's tired. Try something else, please, I beg you. Anyway, her phone starts to ring. It's her best friend Sloan, so she slides it out of her tightly fitting jeans and answers so they can firm up plans for tonight. She info dumps a little bit about Sloan and how she works at the hair salon, and she gets all the tea from the neighbors, but that is literally inconsequential to the story, so I'm just gonna skip it. Sloan's leaving for work, and Cara's almost done with the decorations, so it's perfect timing for them to meet up at the rustic roost. What? Rustic roast. Sloan lets out a painfully slow and dramatic sigh on the other end of the line. Ah, yes, finally. I'll be at Rustic Roast in 10. I might die if I don't get a pumpkin spice latte in me right now. Her loud voice assaults my eardrum through the phone, and I quietly turn down the volume. Sorry, my husband texted me that he loved me, and I have to tell him I love him too. Ugh. Now, I was gonna talk shit here, but I am also a loud bitch who loves a pumpkin flavored anything, so I'm not gonna. However, is there a loud way to turn the volume down when you're on the phone with somebody? Nobody's doing that. Nobody here. Ugh. They hang up, and Cara continues to light all the candles and tell us in vivid detail about it. It's really something, trying to light it, and the lighter's empty, so she has to shake it, and then she runs her finger over the silver whatever, and the flame comes up, and the weird angle she has to hold her hand at to get, and oh my god, she burned herself, but everything's lit. Hooray. 128 pages. Let's wrap this up. She goes into her house to grab her stuff. Lots of info dumping here with very little consequence. She drives a black Elantra that she has nicknamed Lucy with a 2-liter engine. I didn't ask, did you? She has a black leather jacket, central heating and air, mouse gray L-shaped couch, which is just gray, but this bitch is not like the other bitches, and I'm sure you could get... She pulls out of the driveway, blasts her Halloween playlist. She finds the perfect parking spot and sees that Sloane is already there waiting on her. She walks up and gives her a great big boo, and that scares her, so she drops her phone and almost hits the ground, but it doesn't because Cara is quick like a black cat, no doubt, and catches it just before it hits the ground. They walk in and greet the barista. Can I get 2 large pumpkin spice lattes? She asks one. A barista we've come to know well behind the register. Hot, she adds before he can ask how we'd like our drinks.
Name?
Senorita Awesome.
So the barista not only had these drinks ready and waiting for them because last week they ran out of pumpkin spice, and he knew that if that happened again, that they would unalive him. But the drinks are also on the house. They take their coffees and find a table to chill at when suddenly Cara's eyes catch on a paralyzingly handsome stranger. Okay, I know I already made the truly madly deeply joke a little bit in there, but like, we love adverbs. He's already watching me through whiskey brown eyes, scanning over every inch of my body like I'm some prized possession he's contemplating purchasing. Warmth rises to my cheeks as his sharp facial features and intricately tattooed skin lure me in. I can't help but suck my lip between my teeth. He's the most pleasantly appealing person I've seen in this small town for a long time. Although I suppose it's not saying too much considering the pathetic pool of men there is to pick from here in Hollow Grove. The point is, he's hot as... My knees begin to wobble. Wobble, baby, wobble, baby, wobble, baby, wobble. Weakening as I clench my thighs together mid-step, seeking relief from the pressure building between them. I have been a woman in the world for 36, almost 37 years now, and never once have I seen a living being that is so hot that I am immediately gooshing. I've never, that's not how it works. I don't understand why people write it like this, like you see someone and then all of a sudden your uterus bottoms out. That's not a thing that happens. He chooses that moment to make eye contact with me. A devilishly charming smirk spreads across his full, filled out lips. Full and filled out, wow. One split second glance, and it's like he already knows how devastatingly enthralled I am with him. My breath catches in the back of my throat as he flashes wickedly white teeth at me.
The wickedly talented.
Releasing my bottom teeth from between my teeth, I return the gesture with the most flirtatious smile I can manage while being completely consumed by this stranger. Damn, we are adverbing tonight. Intricately, pleasantly, devilishly, devastatingly, wickedly, and completely. Truly, madly, deeply. I know you more with every breath, truly, madly, deeply do. Sloane notices the prolonged eye contact, but decides to sidestep it and just discuss the party that they're going to later. And she knows that Cara is nervous because she's gonna run into her ex, Jonah. He might be there. But she's spending way too much time in that creepy house, and it'll be good for her to get out of a bit. But Cara has a secret. Sloane doesn't know that I've been secretly Jonah since last fall, and I'd like to keep my secret long enough to get the guts to finally kick Jonah to the curb. There aren't feelings involved, but for whatever reason I can't force myself to get rid of him. Every time I convince myself I don't need a buddy, he's calling me up late at night when I'm already laying in bed with my vibe, desperate for male touch. Alcohol and Jonah while Sloane or anyone else is there to lay witness is not a good combination. And if I'm smart, I'll keep myself in line. Thrilled to hear that you have a vibe, but desperate for male touch is a bit much. Sloane continues though, saying that Cara has to come with her because they've already got the perfect costumes picked out. Please leave your guesses below. The reveal won't be coming around for a couple chapters, so you have plenty of time to like rack your brain, okay? Search, dig deep, and leave your guesses below. They have the perfect costumes, and Sloane doesn't want to run into her current rich, white, blonde man of the week. So Cara agrees, and then Sloane says loudly, "You need to get laid tonight." I feel like I've heard this before. You need to get laid. Oh yeah, I have. It's been too long and your vibe is gonna give out soon if you don't give it a break. Cara is low-key mortified because Sloane is loud AF. And the hottest hottie is sitting hotly behind her. And then Cara tells Sloane, the first joke that Sloane's ever heard, I guess. We will see what happens, but I make no promises. It depends on who shows up and how much alcohol I need to ingest before any of them become tolerable enough to She lets out a loud bout of laughter, holding her hand over her chest as she tries to reel in her breathing. That might be the most relatable thing you've ever said, she praises me as she wipes a joyful tear from her waterline. This is why we're best friends. I love your sense of humor. It wasn't really that, was it? And also, it really wasn't that funny. I mean, would it probably earn a chuckle from me if I was hanging out with my girlies before I go to a Halloween party? Maybe, yeah. But so hard you can't breathe and you're tearing up. Just play with me for a minute. I make no promises. It depends on who shows up and how much alcohol I need to ingest before any of them become tolerable enough to... It's a little silly when you see it acted out, right? With that, like, oh God. She takes one sinfully, scrumptiously, pumpkin-y sip of her coffee, locks eyes with the wickedly hot stranger one more time. She licks cream off of her finger at him and tells us that she just knows he would put her vibe to shame. No comment. Chapter 2 is Rant. Ah, yes, our love interest. I'm so excited. And I'm sure it will come as no surprise to you all that he's likable straight away. He's overstimulated in the cafe and info dumps about how he's trying to hack into some overseas bank account that some local scumbag has been using. He's in the CIA, apparently. He drinks his black coffee and stares out the window at his midnight black 750 GSXR sport bike that's parked across the street and sticks out like a sore thumb in this dull-ass town, but he'd never go anywhere without his baby. Is this Senor Awesome? He's tracking the movements of whoever, and apparently this is the same guy that unalived Rhett's dad, and now his sole purpose in life is to destroy his entire operation and take him out too. And none of that matters. Not a single shred of that is important to any of this. Except for every now and then, Rhett's very clearly got some daddy issues, which is fine. I think if I lost my father in such a tragic way, that I would also have daddy issues, but I can't really say because I've never had a father to begin with. We're having so much fun. He's just about to leave this place, but then a soft laugh catches in his eardrum. He turns and sees Cara smiling at the barista as he hands her drink. All it takes is one look. A split second where another man holds her attention to send me into a downward spiral of jealousy and rage. I never want her to smile at anyone else like that again unless it's me. Who are you? He spots her name on the side of her cup as she passes by to go sit down, and he notes her supple body and perky tits hidden under a tight leather jacket. How thin is this leather? I feel like a leather jacket is pretty structured. And yes, you might be able to see like the general size, but I feel like if it was a really tight leather jacket, nothing would be perky. It would all be kind of pressed in. Whatever. I'm not getting into all this, nor am I getting into him like describing her, but she has long dark hair and gray eyes. And this girl is not like any other girls in this washed up hillbilly hick nobody nothing town. No, she's different. She's special. She sees me, accepts me. Sir? I mean, yes, she technically did see you. And this chapter already let me know that she's different, but accepts you. She doesn't know you. One of the other main characters in this novel is Delusion. This girl wants me. The metal barb of my Jacob's ladder piercing rubs against the confinement of my tight, black, skinny jeans as Mike hardens at the subtle but incredibly sexy gesture. Incredibly. One more adverb for the list. The skinny jeans would have been enough, but Jacob's ladder? I blocked this out since the first time I read it. I literally scrubbed it from my memory in an attempt at self-preservation, but you heard it here, folks, and I can only apologize. He starts calling her mine and my girl after that, and notes that it's cute to watch her pretend to not be completely consumed by him. Humble. Nice. I know I'm good looking and taller than most men, a feature I can thank my late father for. Added in to all my free time spent at the gym where I work hard to maintain my well-toned body and it doesn't take much for women to swoon over me. I've always said there's two types of women in this world, the ones that take one single look at a guy like me and run, and those who fantasize about having me buried deep between their thighs. I feel like this is a gross generalization that erases women like me from the equation because I would take a look at you with utter indifference at best and sheer terror and ridicule at worst, especially now that I know what your inner monologue consists of. As for ones who fall at my feet with just one look, I'm usually more than happy to give them whatever they want to bring any fantasy to life, especially when it saves me from having to scroll through pages upon pages of Hub before finally finding something I can actually stroke my I've stuck my I've stuck in more women than I can count, but that's all it's ever been. Chuck and on to the next. Thanks for spilling. You sound like the absolutely worst. And this is the problem, isn't it? How's he so terrible, but we're supposed to like him? I'm like, fine. Have your fantasies about being chased through a whatever and whatever by whatever and he's hot and he's tattooed and he's like really tough, rough around the edge. Fine. But he is absolutely insufferable. They almost all are. And we're supposed to like him. This guy with those thoughts. It's a no for me, dog. He projects more delusion at her, saying that it's very clear that she just gets him and accepts him in a way that no one else has ever since his father died. That should be unpacked with a therapist, Rat. Yikes. He then tells us that even though he's super hot and all the ladies love him, he will need to mark her and break her if he wants to keep her. Why? I'm not following this logic. But I don't think logic is like high on the list of priorities here, so whatever. He decides to stay in the cafe for a little while and try to blend in and eavesdrop on the conversation to get the tea on their plans for tonight. Then the entire conversation that Cara and Sloane had is just repeated, the entire dialogue, word for word. 128 pages, guys. Let's wrap this up. When she mentions that they're going to go to the Miller's house tonight and she doesn't want to drive because there's like a narrow gravel driveway next to the lake and it makes her nervous, he Google Maps it like you do and then hacks into the county assessor something and gets the deets. Being a white hat hacker for the CIA has its benefits. I'm not going to sit here on the internet and speak as if I have any sort of idea what qualities you have to have in order to be in the CIA. And I also have no clue because when I went to research it, obviously they're not just giving this information away for free, that it's the CIA. But I feel like I've always heard that the CIA is meant to be able to blend in and hide in plain sight. So you're telling me that this man who is so built, larger than other men, his vehicle is a 750 GSXR sports bike. He's tattooed to the max. He's supposed to blend in? Whatever. He continues sleuthing it out, getting Google Maps and satellite images and finding out the name of the person who owns this one house that he found by the lake. And it's Miller. Score, that must be where they're going. This is not as impressive as he thinks, by the way, or they think. Whoever thought that this was going to be like really impressive, like a montage of him just like... Find yourself a millennial woman who remembers back in the day on Facebook when you had to have a student email address in order to log on and learned how to HTML code things so that she could design her MySpace in exactly the way she wanted it to. And she can get you the same information without having to hack into anything, I guarantee. He continues to eavesdrop and project and lay claim on her, mine, after one look, which is hot. And then the girls get up to leave. He notices Sloane first. She places her cup in the trash bin beside the register before chatting up the same barista as before, making sure to push her large tits together between her arms as he leans over the counter. I know her type, the tryhards with low self-esteem who flaunt what they have to get what they want, and if you refuse, they try harder. I beg all of the pardons, sir, but I feel compelled to remind you of the old adage, it takes one to know one, because everything about you screams edgy, try-hard, insecure. He tells us about Cara, like, licking the cream off of her finger. It should be my cream dripping down her. Should it? She wants it to be my cream. Is that right? They leave, so now he can leave and start making preparations for the night. As he stands, he stretches a little bit and gives the old ladies at the corner booth a shot at his V and kickstarts their practically dead libidos. Listen, no, I'm not gonna, no, what a guy. That's all I'll say. What a guy. I wish that some guy like this was in my local coffee shop one day so that my dead libido would rise from your graves. Get it? He tells us that he was bullied as a kid, no surprise there, but his dad taught him that he's a lion and lions don't lose sleep over the thoughts of sheep. I never understood that cliche, that little adage, because as far as the food chain is concerned, lions eat things like sheep. So that would make the sheep pretty important. He talks about her and how she's going to keep him awake at night like the monster under her bed, so he starts calling her my little nightmare, which you'll remember from the cover. Thanks, I hate it. The barista, the same one who helped the girls earlier, tells him thanks for coming by and have a good day. So he grimaces at him and daydreams about filleting the smile from his face. Normal. Totally normal. Nothing to worry about here. He pulls a cig from his leather jacket. Oh my God, the leather twins. And he lights it with his Zippo lighter. Of course he has a Zippo lighter. I bet he's also smoking Marlboro Reds. I would be surprised if he wasn't. As he's strolling back towards his apartment, he notices a little clothing cart on the sidewalk and he gets a scarecrow mask to wear to the party tonight. Chapter 3 is Cara. Sloane is looking through Cara's room to find a lighter, and she finds one shoved into one of her monster smut books. Isn't that swell? And a true book bitch would know that anything can be a bookmark if you just believe. Sloane is not a fan of the dark romance or the monster smut like Cara is, so Cara enjoys taunting her with the details. Can you see why I thought this was a parody? Are you ready for the costume reveals? This is the last chance you have to log your guesses below. I want you to really think. Remember, they said they had the perfect costumes, okay? Cara is an angel and Sloane is a devil. For someone who loves this holiday so much, they definitely went with one of the most basic duo costumes. Cara's chilling while Sloane's putting on her makeup and they chat a little bit. They pass on jackets because they don't want to cover up these super awesomely awesome costumes. They take tequila shots and reminisce about Halloween's past and some of the dumb bitch shit they used to get when they were wasted. Oh my God, so much fun. Cara can't do tequila, but Sloane's like, yes, you can. So what's a girl to do? I can't out. I'm the hardcore tattooed friend and she's the bougie queen. It would damage my bad bitch ego to let her show me up with a tequila shot. No, yeah, I know. For sure. They emerge from the house into the cold and chilly night air, and Cara swears that she feels some sort of a faint sense of danger on the back of her neck. Yeah, go with that. Just go home. Stay home. Chapter 4 is Rhett. He is microwaving himself some leftover Chinese, which sounds delicious. I am hungry. In his tiny, nothing fancy studio apartment, that's all he needs. He doesn't need anything more than that. I have my equipment, my blades, my bike, and my clothes. I don't need anything else. Some tact would be nice. Humility. Whatever the opposite of cringe is. He takes his food over to the table where he has already hacked into all of Cara's accounts and socials. So now he knows that she's secretly banging her ex, Jonah, but I'll be changing that tonight. Okay. He inhales his food and all of the information that he can find about Cara. Based on her photos alone, it's clear she's Halloween obsessed and a talented tattoo artist. I might even have to convince her to add some ink to my collection. Maybe her name across my... I cannot do this again. I can't do this again. He finishes food and hops in the shower, scalding himself, washing, and having to stop himself from having a little moment with himself because no, the next time I blow my load will be with my little nightmare, begging me to stop. I'm begging you to stop. This man is just leather, delusion, and red flags. He climbs out of the shower, dresses in all black, grabs his scarecrow mask, and his favorite blade that he has named Maury. Aww. Normal, and practically skips out the door. Oh my God, he's excited. We love when the men are excited. So he arrives at the house for the party, and he's noting like some of the tech that's around the house. He's like, Mr. Miller is clearly compensating for something. What kind of bike did you say you had again? And you named your knife? I'm just wondering. No reason, really. He parks and climbs off of his bike, the bike that he clearly bought for function and practicality, right? Not to compensate for anything, duh. And takes the party in. Everyone is already pretty sloshed and dancing, but there's no sign of his little nightmare yet. Just then, there she is. A literal angel climbing out of the car. The costume is perfect. She wore it for me. She had that shit planned before you rolled into town. I guarantee. He watches from afar, slinking along, following them without being seen. They make their way to the bonfire just as Sloane sees her rich boy flavor of the week approaching. But she goes over to see him for a little bit and leaves Cara alone by the fire. She heads into the house and he follows her. This is really boring. She goes to get some punch. He watches her get some punch. So impressive. My girl can drink. But then when a girl approaches him and she's clearly wasted and flirting with him, he's disgusted and like brushes her off. Like, do you like women who drink or not? But when he turns back to see Cara, he finds that Jonah has found her. And Cara's following Jonah upstairs. They disappear into a room at the end of the hall, but thankfully they didn't close the door all the way, so he just stands creepily in the doorway with his front row seat for whatever's about to happen. Ugh. Chapter 5 is Cara, and it doesn't pick up there. No, we go back in time. We gotta keep doing this stuff over. Because we need her POV for what just happened too. Because I don't think we really understood it the first time, right? This book is way too short for all this backtracking and repeating of scenes. Like, stop this. Anyway, she's cold, regretting not bringing a jacket, slamming back drinks by the bonfire. And then Alex, Sloane's new flavor of the week, you recall, comes walking up, biting his bottom lip, eyeing Sloane as he approaches, which is really weird. Most of the guys at this party grew up here and have never left, and nearly all of them still live with their mamas. They're not real men, and based on my experience, none of them know how to... So they're not real men, but they're not so bad that you won't sleep with them. You banged most of the men in town. I don't have a problem with that, of course. Like, do you and get yours. But if they're such losers, why are you sleeping with them? It's just weird to me. Cara encourages Sloane to go with Alex, blah, blah, blah. She goes in, she's getting punched. Jonah approaches. We know that. We've done this already. If Sloane sees you near me, she's never going to forgive me. So scram! But just like every other time she says something about a dusty dude in town, she doesn't actually mean it, so she follows him upstairs. Jonah tells her it's unhealthy to deny her body what it wants and what it needs. And she gets the ick, but not enough to not follow him upstairs, like I said. They start, but we're not doing that. But what I will say is that for someone who doesn't care one way or the other about this situationship that she's in, she's immediately damp and pulsing with anticipation. Now, I get being hard up and down bad, but I didn't think she was either of those. I thought that she said that she has a vibe and she doesn't really like him. They just bang it out casually whenever they feel inclined. She also makes a dig at his size. Then he starts moaning and she says that it's somewhere between a porn star moan and a dog needed to be let out. And Jonah isn't really anything more than those two things. Then why are you sleeping with him? And then whenever they hook up, her needs are never met. He's sloppy, selfish, and truly inexperienced. He's vanilla. Do you remember in the synopsis I told you to remember something? Okay, just in case you didn't, I'm gonna go back and read it again. I have my dream job as a tattoo artist, a loyal best friend, and an ex who happily tends to my needs without complicating our arrangement with feeling. Tends to her needs. That would imply that he meets her needs, wouldn't it? Not just like shows up to be near her when she has a need. Like, maybe I just don't get it, but why even bother? Up until now, I had just assumed that he must at least be a good time because she never really said anything otherwise, and she also continues to interact with him. And she's wet and ready in just a few minutes, and now she tells us that his whiny bitch noises increase and I'm doing everything I can to keep my poker face in place. So you aren't even having fun. This isn't even good for you? Why bother?
What is the point of this?
Then he just, with no warning, retracts himself and splooshes all over her face. She's disgusted. He says, thanks, zips up, and leaves her there. Yeah, this is totally worth keeping in touch with, girly pop. I see why you just can't stay away. What is the point of this? She's trying to find a bathroom because of what just happened. And she does so she can clean up as best she can. Once she's downstairs again, she grabs 2 more shots and downs them both and heads outside. She sees people like gathering and talking and chatting, and then she notices that there's like a bobbing for apple station. And at first I was like, that's stupid. You're already cold. Why would you dunk your head into water? But then she said that it's going to be really easy to explain what happened to her makeup if she's bobbing for apples. So well done, Cara. She goes a bobbing. She eyes a green one. She can't seem to get her mouth around it and finally concludes that her mouth is simply too small for this game. But before she can break the surface and relay that information to anyone standing around who might care, hands on her shoulders, forcing her to stay under the water. Oh my God, she's flailing and thrashing, and finally the hands disappear and she jumps up. It was Jonah. Such a fun guy. And she vows she is never banging him again. This is the final straw for you? I mean, that makes sense. He did just attempt to unalive you, but wise decision anyway, Cara. You got there, and I'm proud of you. Then as she's recovering from all that, she spots a man at the edge of the tree line in a scarecrow mask. And she knows that he's watching her, despite not being able to see his face. Sloane reappears like, what the fuck happened to you? And she lies and says that she was bobbing for apples and fell in. The masked man is gone when she looks back up. Chapter 6 is Rhett. He is rage. He is fury. He is the night. How could she let him touch her? I thought we both felt something in our moment at Rustic Roast. You mean, how can she carry on living her life even after she had prolonged eye contact with a stranger who didn't even speak a word to her in their maybe 8-minute encounter? You got me, that bitch. He watched the whole thing too, so he is double mad that the dude didn't even do a good job and has a small and was just straight up disrespectful to his girl. He's determined to never let that man disappoint a woman ever again. He will carve a permanent smile into his face and show him and his girl what happens when she lets others touch what belongs to him. He overhears the girls talking and saying that they're already ready for an Uber, so he takes his super special hacker skills for another spin, hacks into the website, and he hijacks their ride request. Then he goes to find a car to jack and trips over a man who's dressed like a yellow sponge passed out in the yard. So he goes through his pockets and finds some joints, and his keys. Jackpot. Keys to a Civic. So he goes and climbs in. He puts on some red, smelly hoodie that he found in the back seat so that they can't really see him or whatever. And then he does whatever super secret hacker stuff he needs to do in order to make this ruse work and pulls up to escort them home. The girls climb in and tell him her address, which I again have to tell you is 11 October Lane. I'm a little disappointed it wasn't 13 October Lane or 666 October Lane. Or he drives them to the house, but they're so sloshed, he carries them up to the porch and inside of the house. Cara drunkenly flirts with him, mostly Cara. They both do, but it's mostly Cara. And she's like, oh my God, you're so strong. You should carry me everywhere so I never have to walk again. Oh my gosh, you should come to the party tomorrow. You should totally, it's at a pumpkin patch. Before she can go on and give him the details though, she passes out on the couch. And he's just so into her in this moment, which is weird because he literally hated the drunk girl from earlier. They pass out on the couch, he covers them with blankets. Oh my gosh, how sweet. And then places 3 cameras around her house. Oh, not so sweet. As he leaves, he finds a pair of her underwear on the ground and he picks them up and sniffs them and is like, she left these here on purpose. It's her house. You lunatic. This man is just a literal criminal, an unhinged, delusional, deranged, violent criminal. Full stop, period. But he just so happens to be hot, so none of that really matters. I'm so tired of this. It's all we ever get. Some edgy but naive hot girl who is victimized the entire book by an actual criminal man who just also happens to be hot. I don't care. It's tired. I'm bored. He finally leaves and heads back to the party. Why? Well, to return the car and to some shit up. Chapter 7 is Rhett. Again, he's back at the party and he finds Jonah in his pumpkin mask. And I don't know if I mentioned that already, that he was wearing a pumpkin mask, but he is. And so Jonah is already chatting up another girl. The gall. The audacity. Rhett watches and waits for his moment to strike. Jonah makes his way outside by himself and sits by the bonfire. They smoke up some of the weed together and make idle chit chat, whatever, it's boring. And then Jonah leans over to pick up something and boom! Rhett stabs him a whole bunch of times, which is sexy. Jonah looks around, hoping that there's someone who can help, but there's no one, which Rhett quickly tells us that even if someone did stumble out there and try to help, he'd take them out too. Swell. Jonah's literally dying, passing away, and Rhett is just shit-talking him. Like, his size and his sex game and like how he's not good at anything and a horrible person. I don't even know. What a way to exit the earth, huh? Jonah's not a good guy, but this is like really, really ridiculous. Jonah probably prefers the whale. Bible humor. Killing has always been an outlet for me. Sorry? So you do this a lot. Cool. With Jonah now dead, he has the sudden urge to decapitate this man and do something thoughtful for his girl, his little nightmare, and she's gonna love it. He drags the body out into the middle of the lake and fills his pockets up with rocks and lets him sink down, down, down. He takes his head and his pumpkin mask, so now he can have a new costume for the party tomorrow, and he starts to carve Jonah's head like it is itself a pumpkin. Since Little Nightmare likes pumpkins so much, someone needs to institutionalize this man. He's done and he can't wait to show his girl her gift. He goes home first, though, to shower all the blood off of him and to check the cameras that he left in her house. What a sweet story. Chapter 8 is Cara. She wakes up hella hungover. Sloane is still there asleep on the couch, but both still in those awesome costumes. She runs through the events of the night. She sees an apology text from Jonah and vows that it's time to move on to bigger and better days. Sloane wakes up with a start and rushes to the bathroom to vomit. They discuss how they got home. Neither of them really remember. Sloane asks her why she didn't tell her about Jonah, so she's caught. Cara apologizes and then just spills. Sloane's like, thanks for spilling. They order pizza and tacos and watch horror movies all day to recover from the spooky night before and to prepare for the current spooky night of more debauchery. Chapter 9 is Rhett. He's in his house, chugging coffee, black, watching the monitors and rubbing her underwear all over his face as he does. This is what she wanted. This is why she left them for me to find. 126 pages of a violent, dangerous man and his delusions is quite the love story, isn't it? He talks more about the case that he's on, and it's literally stupid and inconsequential to anything, so I'm not going to bother. After watching them all day, he starts to get up and get ready for the party himself, and he knows that he will have to take a few minutes to go by her house and set up her gift for her before he goes to the party himself. He watches her get ready and talks to her through the screen like the maniac that he is. He sees that they're finally leaving for the party, so he potty. They're leaving, so it's time for him to grab his gift and head to her house to stage it on the porch. He sets it on top of a chair right next to the door and somehow manages to shove a candle into it. And I really just don't understand the logistics here. Like, a skull is not, in fact, a hollowed out gourd that just has some gunk in it that you scoop out. You just scoop it out, and then you have all this negative space for candles and such. Like, how do you keep his mouth? Like, you carved his face, sure, but like, your mouth only goes so far. So did he die with his mouth wide open? Did you prop it open before rigor mortis set in and then hollow out all the gushy bits so that you could, in fact, put a candle in there? Is it like a little tea candle? Because I think that I could probably fit like a little tea candle in my mouth. I'm thinking way too much about this. And what do we know about these novels? It doesn't have to make sense. You just have to write it. Like, you don't have to make it make sense. He smokes a cigarette and projects some things onto her some more. She'll love this. This is exactly what she wanted when she locked eyes with me a day ago for the first time I ever saw her. She sees me. She sees my dark side. She wants me. Sure, she does. Even if she did, we don't really know that other than her flirting the one time in a very normal way. A little bit brazen, but it's still pretty normal. Not this. He puts the cigarette out in Jonah's mouth and heads to the party. Chapter 10 is Cara. Cara is dressed as a hot princess, drinking her hangover away and watching the live band perform. I didn't know there was going to be a live band here tonight. How fun. And she walks us through, again, how much she just loves Halloween. She also swears that she's feeling like she's being watched, but there's nothing whenever she scans the field. So it must just be her imagination. But she sees Jonah, or who she thinks is Jonah. So she starts freaking out and she's like, Sloane, stand in front of me. Jonah's here. Because he's wearing the same mask from the night before. And Sloane's like, how can he have the same mask from the night before? How lazy is he? You said you had a perfect costume and it was an angel and a devil. And they talk about how small he is. And Sloane knows this because apparently he sent a dick pic to Cara when they were in high school. Cara showed it to Sloane. Gross. Time passes and they're tipsy, they're feeling great, and they're chatting with people, and Cara suddenly needs to pee so bad. So she breaks away and heads for the porta potties, but rats, they're all occupied. So she opts to go into the cornfield and just pop a squat. No one will notice, I bet one will. Then we get a very detailed paragraph of her peeing. Why? Why not is what you should be asking, though. Why are you asking why? Why not is the question. I pull up my skirt, squatting over a dried mound of dirt as I let a steady stream of urine flow from my body. My eyes roll back in my head as I find instant relief. The sound of mud being made by my pee is interrupted by the steady crunching of boots on brittle dirt. We didn't need this, did we? Her turning dirt into mud with her pee? Someone's approaching though, and she tells them, don't come over here, I'm peeing. And then mid-pee, she sees Jonah step through the corn. Oh my God, okay. She's like, go away, leave me alone. This could never work because you're small and selfish. He doesn't move. He's just standing there like a freaking weirdo. She finally finishes peeing. All of this is happening while she's peeing, which is just, I'm uncomfortable. She adjusts her clothes and like starts to angrily walk towards him. But then when she gets a little closer, she's like, that's not Jonah. This guy's way bigger than Jonah. We know, yeah. But why is he wearing Jonah's costume? It's not a costume, it's a mask. It's just a mask. That is not a costume. I understand why she would see the mask and think it was Jonah, but it's literally just a mask, and maybe the manufacturer made more than one. Is the guy wearing Jonah's clothing as well? She asks him who he is, to which he darkly chuckles. Darkly, yeah. Speaks in a tone that is sexy in the most wrong of ways. What did he say? Run, little nightmare. The Thing. Oh, he said the Thing. Chapter 11 is Rant, and Cara runs as she was told, and she's quicker than he expected. Maybe because you actually don't know this woman. He also tells us that he hired the band to play so that no one would be able to hear her screams in the cornfield. This is called premeditation. Diabolical. But it's just so hot. If he wanted to, he would. Am I right, ladies? You must bump this. He follows her as she runs not towards the party, no, further into the cornfield, which, honestly, this could be intentional or it could be a fight or flight response where you're not really thinking things through. You're just like, danger, get away somehow. He chases her, he closes in, he grabs her and holds a knife to her neck and tells her to lay down. To kiss him. He starts bossing her around. And when she doesn't kiss him and just laughs instead, he cuts her with the blade. So then she relents and kisses him. Of course, what are the options here? And he says that she is hungry, needy, her eyes filled with hunger. However, this man also thinks that she left underwear on her floor in her home for him, and that a severed head of her ex-boyfriend would be a good gift. So I'm not inclined to just go in blindly and believe what he's saying here, but fine. He restrains her in the field, on the ground, in the dirt, and finds out that she's not wearing any underwear and is practically an ocean for him, if you get what I mean. But this time, instead of just making something that she did thoughtlessly, clearly about him, something she did for him, a stranger that she doesn't know, he's mad. He is angry that she came to this party with all these men and no underwear on. So I'm gonna get through this. I'm going to try to get through this. He calls her his, grabs a cob of corn, and tells her to suck it. Cara's not having it. She's like, I'm not yours, you freaking freak. I don't even know who you are. He's like, my name's Rhett. And you'll be screaming it later. You are mine, and I'll carve you up to prove it if that's what it takes. Suck on it. She screams for help as he chokes her and forces the cob into her mouth. Like, this is the silliest shit. Like, ugh. It's not because it's assault, but it's, He then moves the corn from her mouth to her and teases her opening with its, quote, bumpy girth. What a time to be alive and reading. She creams all over the corn, hold your applause, and he licks it clean, but when he looks back, she's up and trying to get away again. His girl is a fighter. He loves that. He puts the corn in his pocket and follows her. She hears him coming and speeds up, heading out of the cornfield and into the pumpkin patch. Dear God, I hope he doesn't upgrade from corn to gourd. Chapter 12 is Cara. Cursing at myself under my breath as I run out of the cornfield. I'm pissed off for not only choosing to get this drunk tonight, but for having such poor choices in shoes. Not to mention the fact that I just had a mind-blowing served to me on a corn cob by a masked man in a cornfield. Who wears heels to a cornfield? And who the do I think I am coming all over this man's corn? Me, apparently. I'm an idiot. She feels really conflicted over all of this because she did enjoy it, but she knows that she shouldn't have, and she doesn't know how to process it, so we're going to put on our serious cap really quickly. Now, I've talked about this before in other videos, but just on the off chance that maybe you haven't seen those videos, I did want to talk about this really quickly here. This is a common thing that survivors of attacks like these experience. It's like, well, what happened to me was horrible, but I seem to have a positive physical response to it, so maybe I actually wanted it, and what does that say about me, and is there something wrong with me? And that is something that's really difficult to work through when something like this happens in the aftermath of something like this. And so if anybody out there is hearing this and reading things like this and it just kind of doesn't feel good, I just wanted to take a moment and say that I see you and that I get it. And sure, maybe some dark desires did come to the front as a result of this kind of an encounter. That's something that some people experience as well, because it's kind of like a taking the power back if you figure out something about it where you can lean in on your terms and try to explore it in your way. And maybe she did enjoy it in spite of herself and the obvious danger that she was in. That is neither here nor there, because he didn't know that. He has been prescribing narratives and motivations to this girl the entire book, and that's all that he does, and that's all that he knows. So even if she did respond positively in the moment or had internal conflicts that she was working through, he had no way of knowing that, so he just R'd her. A channel member actually left a comment on my original view of Haunting Adeline that I feel compelled to share with you now in the moment of all this. And kink are like boxing. If both parties are up for it, it's a sport. If only one party is up for it, it's assault. That's it. That's the tweet. We're almost done though, so let's just keep going. Serious cap off. She makes her way into the pumpkin patch and she's trying to figure out who this man is. Does she even know anybody named Rhett? He catches up to her and she's like, get the fuck away from me. He refuses, of course he does. Says he promised himself that when he saw her at the coffee shop that he would claim her, calls her mine again. She says again, I'm not yours. He starts towards her again and she's at a loss of what to do, and in the moment she just starts chunking pumpkins at him. He charges, takes her down, and then restrains her with vines from the pumpkins. Yeah. Oh, wow. This is goofy, my God. What if he makes her suck on a pumpkin, too? Ooh, hope it's one of those mini ones. What if he doesn't stop at pumpkins?
One watermelon.
Anyway, he finger pops her as punishment for not wearing underwear around all these men and for banging Jonah right in front of him. My dude, you hurt your own feelings with that. Chapter 13 is Rhett. He and his Jacob ladder enter her. Barf. He knows she likes it, wants him. Sure. He spits on her and slaps her
No harm, no foul.
Considers biting her as a way of marking her, but that might be too easy for her to get the cops to be able to track him down with. Yeah, that's actually how they got a guilty verdict on Ted Bundy in Florida, who I'm sure you have a lot in common with. He flicks her. What a dweeb. He tells her to beg, moan, scream for it because, quote, we both know you want to ride this pumpkin princess. Get it? Because she's a princess and he's got a pumpkin and they're in a pumpkin field. It's so many. Oh, the joke is so layered. And clearly his is as big as a pumpkin. Surely, I mean, I would bet my life on it. He then, still inserted, takes out the corn and shoves it in her mouth, too. This is the stupidest, silly, goofiest, goofily shit I've ever been a part of so far. I fear that my future holds many future heartaches and stupidity, but whatever. He keeps going. You wanted me to plow you in this field, didn't you? Ugh. No protection either, by the way. Love that. They arrive together. Gross. He pulls out of her and she looks at him with disgust and he says, oh, come on. We both know how much you love pumpkin cream. Do you see though? Do you see why I thought they were trolling? Do you see? But no, they're 10 toes down serious. Chapter 14 is Cara. She's struggling to find words for what happened, which is fair. How should I feel about him chasing me through a field like a predator would chase his prey? That's what I was tonight, his prey. And I think I loved it. Okay, fair. Okay. I liked that he forced me to do horrible things far outside of my comfort zone. Okay, dubcon, dubious consent, at best. At best. Consensual non-consent is not in this book. So whoops, thanks for nothing, I guess. In order for CNC to be an accurate term for what's going on here, she would have had to have given consent for him to chase her down and bang her like he did. That's where the consensual part of the consensual non-consent comes in. Just him perceiving her and then projecting delusions onto her does not count as consent, so it's not consensual non-consent. It's dubcon at best, dubious consent. God, I wish anyone would do just a smidge of research on these kinks and shit before they include them in these books. Fucking Christ. But hey, she liked it, I guess. Congratulations. He guides her through the field, like out of the field, and asks her, what's wrong, little nightmare? That's what he calls me. Acting as though I'm the one keeping him up at night. Does he not see the wrong in what he's done, in what we've done? Even if I did somehow find pleasure in this, it was all of it. He's he is that, Cara. You nailed that. She's still wrestling with her own thoughts as they head back. She wants him to do it again. No, she doesn't. He can't wait for her to see the gift that he made her. They make it to his bike and he tells her to get on so he can show her something. So fun. I can't wait. She doesn't want to see what he made her because he is clearly not well, but she gets on anyway. I mean, honestly, is there a choice involved? Probably not. He's still wearing the mask. He's not taken it off at all this entire time. I don't know if I mentioned that, but yeah, he is still wearing Jonah's mask, so she still doesn't know who this is. They pull up to her house, and she's having a hard time moving, and so he guides her kind of up the walkway, and she stops halfway though because, how do you know where I live? And he's like, I know everything about you, Cara. You belong to me. Sure thing. No, sure thing. Yeah, got it. No. She keeps walking forward. He isn't following her anymore. He's just standing there probably watching her like this. She reaches the door and starts to dig out her keys, but she notices something sitting next to the door, which is, we know, Jonah's head. She's on the verge of vomiting, and he says, do you like your gift, little nightmare? And then he removes the mask, grins, and stalks towards her. The end. We've done it. We finished. Happy Halloween. Woo! My final thoughts on this book. I think it sucked. It was really silly goofy instead of sexy. It was just a deranged stalker criminal unaliver who, upon seeing and making eye contact with a woman one time, decides to R her in various fields with various different vegetables. Okay, one vegetable, but isn't that enough? Isn't that still too many? He also takes out her ex-boyfriend and makes him into a human jack-o'-lantern and leaves it on her porch for her as a gift. The book is half delusion. All of his chapters were him stalking, fixating, plotting, obsessing, projecting. And all of her chapters, except for the one where they initially met in the coffee shop and she flirts a little bit, and their encounters in the pumpkin field at the end of the book, were her just carrying on living her life. After she left the coffee shop, she barely even thought of him at all, if ever. She was excited to go to the parties, excited to get dressed up, nervous to see her ex. The second party, they even discussed finding some new people to bang when they got there. And she didn't even think, I wonder where the Hottie McHotterson from the coffee shop is. Maybe he'll be at the party tonight. She didn't even think about him. She literally didn't care one way or another, and he was just instantly obsessed this entire time and went on to victimize her and her ex-boyfriend. As a result of this perceived moment and subsequent one-sided obsession, she flirted with him a little bit in the coffee shop in chapter 1, sure. Can you imagine just being in a coffee shop and you see someone and you are attracted to them, so you give them like a little smile and maybe like a cheeky little like hair flip or something, and then they just break into your house and argue in a cornfield later? A man smiled at me at the gas station last week, so do I need to search my house high and low for cameras that he might have placed when he broke in somehow? One time, I actually have pictures of this. One time, my friend Sarah was in town, and so me and the boys took her downtown to go to the Civil Rights Museum, and we ate at the arcade. And while we were there, this man was at a table that was facing me. I was at the booth facing this way. He was in his booth facing me, and he smiled at me the whole time. I noticed that he was smiling at me, so I kind of like snapped a picture of him because I couldn't believe it. And so I had to show her. I was like, I think this guy is smiling at me. And then I showed her and she was like, oh my God, he loves you. I didn't lick whipped cream off my fingers at him. Sure, I guess that can be said, but I did smile at him. But did he follow me home after that? No. Did he even speak to me? No. Did he hack into my accounts and then stalk me throughout the rest of the day? No. Like, this man is deranged. He is violent. He is unwell. He should be on some sort of a list at the very least. But no. Instead, here he is, starring in a Halloween-themed dark romance novel where he's supposed to be the main male character and love interest. And this is a great way, and this is a great spot for me to segue into my next thought process, which is, why is this labeled a dark romance and not an erotic thriller or an erotic horror? And I talked a little bit about this on my TikTok, but I just can't let it go. I just finished a dark romance book and I didn't like it. I thought it was shit, and who surprised no one, but it did bring up something that I kind of wanted to chat with you about for a minute if you have time. Like I said, I didn't like it. I thought the book sucked, but I do think that it would have been better received by me, and I might have had a different opinion if it wasn't marketed as a dark romance and instead was marketed as an erotic horror. And I've been trying to find discourse where people are discussing this, like dark romance, erotic horror. What's the difference? Is there a difference? Why is it important? Does it matter? Because I think that dark romance denotes a very different implication and intention than erotic horror does. And so with that, it kind of changes the way you experience the book. Sure, I'm not the first person to have this thought. I'm not reinventing the dark romance wheel. I'm just thinking out loud here. I just think that when I started reading dark romance, I came in with a different set of expectations, especially compared to what I actually encountered in these books. There's no like discussion or dissection of what's going on, accountability, self-reflection, self-awareness. There's none of that, because nobody seems to be putting any of that kind of thought into these books. They're just throwing smut out at you, hoping that they can have the next viral moment talking about how dark this book is. And I understand that there's a market for that. I'm not saying that there's not. Clearly, I'm reading them. That's probably on me. I shouldn't have had expectations, and I should just be like along for the ride. But I'm not along for the ride. I have questions, and I just think that it would be better received if you market it to me as an erotic horror novel. Like, you get those dark elements to it, those taboo things that are happening, while also acknowledging that it's not intended as a love story. Because in my mind, if you say it's a romance, even if it's a dark romance, I expect a happily ever after. But you can't have a happily ever after if you just have incel criminal men attacking women until they break. So I do and don't understand this from a marketing perspective. Dark romance is a very hot genre right now, especially in the bookish spaces. I get the appeal of rushing to publish and market a dark romance to an already established fan base that is like ravenous and would gobble them up without a second thought. I understand. However, it should also be noted that I, a horror fan, a romance fan, a smut fan, like I said, it would be better received if it was marketed and labeled as an erotic thriller or erotic horror. That is a broader term. It's not nearly buzzwordy enough. Yes, I understand that, but is that such a bad thing? It would allow more room for interpretation too. Like, everybody reads and interprets things in their own ways, right? Reading is subjective, art is subjective. It's based on you and your biases and things you like and things you don't. So if one person likes it and finds it slightly titillating, fine. But if another person reads it and thought it was good but had no thoughts outside of that, it's just like, okay too. That's fine. The implication that comes with the label of dark romance is that there will be a romance and that it's intended to be sexy. It's intended to entice you, and it's spicy scenes with the super tatted up, hot, all black wearing main male characters. But I'm not stimulated by a violent criminal man who victimizes women for the entirety of the book and then they live happily ever after. Which, is it happily ever after if Stockholm Syndrome just kicks in? And that's it. And she's finally like, sure, this is fine. This isn't even a happily ever after. We got no inclination that she was going to continue anything with this man at all. This is all we got. So is it a romance? Is that a happily ever after? I understand kinks too, right? Please, this is not a kink shaming conversation. Masks, rope, blood, age play, consensual non-consent. I get it. But these things in here aren't kinks. They're crimes. They may cater to a certain audience that likes those types of kinks, but they're not kinks. It's just criminal attacks. And again, back to labeling it a different thing than dark romance, like Scream, for instance. I know that the girlies go crazy for Ghostface, and particularly the two that play him in the first Scream, right? And I understand that. However, Scream is not a dark romance. Is there a romance in there? Do we get to see the interactions in the relationship between Sidney Prescott and her boyfriend? Do we get to see them have sex? Do we get to see them have fights? Yeah, we do. Absolutely. And is that hot to some people? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. But it's a horror movie. It's a scary movie. And if you think that it's hot, great. It's still a scary movie. If you walked away and didn't think it was hot, and just a little spooky, also fine, because the label makes sense. It's a scary movie and some of it's a little hot. What is wrong with saying that? I get that these cater to a certain kind of kink, right, sure, but these aren't kinks, they're crimes. Of course, then the argument could be made that the consent is given and it takes place between the author and the reader. I open these books now and I know what I'm getting into, and that they're probably gonna have fictional characters getting brutalized in some sort of a dark but sexy way, and I choose to read it. So I'm giving unspoken consent to that. But that would also lead us into a conversation on why it's so important to properly label and accurately list the content warnings. And I don't think anybody's ready to have that conversation. I can't give informed consent for what I'm about to read if you don't give me all of the information and the information that you give me is not accurate. And we see this a lot. We saw it in this one. There's no consensual non-consent in here. It's just SA, dubious consent at best. H.G. Carlton improperly labeled her scenes as CNC, consensual non-consent, when they were literally R, plain and simple. A huge example of this is people like Kay Webster, who don't even give trigger warnings list, and the warning page consists of saying, like, this is only for the brave. You've been warned. Have I? You haven't told me anything. It's just irresponsible, and no one's putting enough care into this, and so I don't even know why I'm fussing. Shifting back to this book specifically, the nonsense lines about October Lane and Cemetery Cove and plowing in a cornfield and pumpkin spice lattes and creamed corn, you can see why I thought that this was a parody or some sort of tongue-in-cheek jab at the dark romance thing. Just a silly, goofy little book, right? But after, like I said, checking their socials, it's not. They're serious, and it hurts. The physical copy, like I said, is pretty cool. The black pages, I think that that's the best thing I can say about this book and the overall reading experience of it. This wasn't a dark romance. It was more of an erotic thriller, and I can't even say that it had a hint of romance because she was having casual, unsatisfying intercourse with her ex, and then she was attacked. So, like, is there romance in it? Not really. There's smut in it, but smut is not romance. They're not, okay. And I think that if it was called an erotic thriller before I read it, I would have received it differently and experienced it differently and therefore hated it a little bit less. Maybe. My final rating for Carving for Cara is 1 star. It was not good. It was not a good time, but maybe this review was. I really, really hope that it was. Like the video if it was, please. Don't forget to leave a like. Please remember that I am fundraising, or I'm trying to fundraise for my friend Haneen, whose family is trying to evacuate safely out of Gaza. Once they reach their goal, I will read Where's Molly by H.D. Carlton. 2 birds, 1 stone. You know you want me to read it. You know you want me to suffer. Think of it as a Christmas gift. Donate if you can. Share it if you can't. It's appreciated either way. Thank you so much for watching this and for sticking with me this far. Leave a pumpkin in the comment if you made it this far. Thanks again to Oodie for sponsoring this video. Roll that beautiful bean footage because I think we all deserve some, don't we?
Beans, you must greet your adoring public. Everybody wants to see you. Beans likes when I wear the Oodie too. He's snuggly. He's doing pretty good. He didn't wake me up at 4 last night. He woke me up at 5:30. That's sweet. Wanted me to get an early jump on the day. He is just such your darling. I love you too. When did I become this person? I mean, beans will do it to you. Okay, see ya. No, don't. Oh! Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Bye.